Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this latest teaching session in the course on technology and the future of medicine. Are there timeless truths? Is life all fads and trends? Of clout and cliffs snatching us back from the brink of disaster, will technology save humanity or sink it? The view from Precipice Edge. Now, you remember last time we talked about religion and the singularity and transhumanism, and I got to thinking about that. So what's the difference between those disciplines and religion in general? Well, maybe one question is, are there ideas that will last for hundreds of years? Or is everything like trends and transient interest? You know, the Gartner hype cycle, you're probably all familiar with the Gartner hype cycle, but there is a part of life that is not hype, that is just regular life, and that part of life probably has truths which endure, truths which remain true in the long run, and ideas which remain valuable for decades and centuries. So that would be a question then, this idea of being street smart for the future. What is the long view of that, and what are the ideas there that would persist and still be meaningful for 30 to 100 years from now? This was brought to mind just yesterday when I was looking at the latest video from venture capital leader Fred Wilson. You guys probably don't know Fred Wilson, but if you were starting a new company, he's a famous source of venture capital. And he was speaking about the next 10 years macro trends. And I realize how much of what we listen to these days has to do with trends and fads and what's fashionable and sort of short-term hype cycle things. He said the three elements, and you probably are able to detect this in modern life: transition from bureaucratic hierarchies to technology-driven networks, the unbundling of services. It used to be quite complicated to provide services, so for instance, a bank branch would try to do everything. They would do everything that a bank does. And now it's much more differentiated. You would go to one place for one particular specialized service. And then the third macro trend, he felt, is that we're all personally a node on the network, connected all the time, and it includes all of us, more or less. So what kind of ideas are these? These are ideas that resonate with your world right now. But are they great ideas? I don't think so. I mean, they're not like the sayings of Plato and Aristotle and so on. They're not great ideas. And there must be great ideas, great thoughts, even now, today, and they would be different from these trends. There is something called the Long Now Foundation. I've never talked to this class about it. They are looking really far ahead. They express every date with an extra zero. So, for instance, rather than 2015, they would make it 2015, making it possible to express dates up to the year 99,000. And they're interested in optimizing things over the next 10,000 years. But in my view, if you look at their site, they sort of missed the important stuff. They're building a clock that will work for 10,000 years and so on. It seems to me there are kind of long-range thoughts more important than the ones that you'll find on the Long Now Foundation that are worth considering. So just because in this course there's so much emphasis on what is current, what is trendy, what characterizes human interaction from a behavioral point of view right now, That doesn't mean that's the only important thing. We have a lot of conversation about predicting, and it's very hard to predict the future. If you look at the bottom of this slide, this was a very highly respected tech guru in 1996 talking about the fact that the internet was going to go dark forever. It was going to disappear. Predicting the internet's catastrophic collapse and ghost sites galore in 1996. This is a guy who developed the Ethernet. He's sort of Mr. Ethernet or Dr. Ethernet, very respected tech figure. And he said in 1995, around Christmas time, almost all the many predictions now being made about 1996 hinge on the internet's continued exponential growth. But I predict that the internet, which only just recently got this section here on InfoWorld, will go spectacularly supernova and in 1996 catastrophically collapse. Here's why there'll soon be only World Wide Web ghost pages, and money investors poured a lot of money into the internet, but he goes on and on to predict that the internet is going to die and will disappear forever. So he was a smart guy, and he was wrong. So we may also be wrong about things, and I'm going to tell you today about something called Klout. And it may be that it's a mistake to tell you about Klout because it may turn out to be absolutely superficial and unimportant, but I think there's a chance that it's the beginning of something. There's a science fiction story in which there are woofie points, and all day people are rating you in terms of your impact in the world. You do certain things, your woofie points go up and down and so on. So Klout is sort of like a real-world version of woofie points. So it measures your impact in the social media world, your online impact. And it's partnered with Bing and Chrome and many big companies. There are marketing courses now where your grade for the course depends on your Klout score at the end of the course. So it has some reality from that point of view. Is it possible to game the system, fake the system, and get a temporarily higher Klout score? It is. If you announce that you're going to get married, your Klout score will go up. However, once people find out that you're not really going to get married, you just said that to raise your Klout score, then your Klout score goes way down. So it's not like a permanent fix. Such strategies are not sustainable. Used to be that Justin Bieber had the highest Klout score, and people thought this is not correct. So now, with the current way Klout is determined, Barack Obama has the top Klout score of 99, and I believe Justin Bieber is 97, somewhere around there. So being involved in a number of different networks, social media sites helps. Quality trumps quantity. Many high Klout people are not consistently active on sites, maybe silent for long periods. You know, Barack Obama probably has some other things to do besides posting on Facebook, so being influential in the real world also helps. This may seem very theoretical to you, but my Klout score and Ozma Zayan's Klout score are well known, and he's the next person speaking here for the next 3 times. So you'll kind of get an idea of what Klout is all about. His Klout is much higher than mine. His Klout is 76, mine is 60. Here's what's been happening recently to my Klout score. It's kind of interesting, and it relates to things that this class or the previous version of this class experienced. So my Klout has recently peaked at 62. It's been as low as 55.99, which is where it is today, I guess. And no, I guess it's 56.03 today. Anyway, what are some of these peaks? Well, as you may know, Shauna Panja and I, on November the 9th, went downtown and fed the homeless outside the Boyle Macaulay center. It was a really cool thing to do. We did it because, as you may know, there was a news story in Florida, this 90-some-year-old man who was put in jail because he fed the homeless, and this was regarded in that city as a bad thing to do because it encourages people to be homeless if you feed them, I guess. So anyway, we fed the homeless. It was just Shauna and me and one other young man. And anyway, that raised my Klout scores. So that peak you can see around November the 10th probably had to do with us feeding the homeless downtown. And then I took this class to see Interstellar, the movie. It's the first time I'd taken the whole class. Usually I sort of test. I go to the movie by myself, a completely, unsociable thing. I find that it's suitable for the class, and then I send you guys with Earl Waugh. So that's always the way we've done movies before. This was the first time I ever actually went to the movies with the class. And that also had a positive effect on my Klout score. But then over the holiday season, certain things that I did that I think were very good in the real world, like most of the people who sang Christmas carols in our department left town, and there was only 2 of us left. And so on the day that we sang Christmas carols and put up the video, my Klout went way down. And then, the various things around, the holiday time with family and, Christmas dinners and so on, my Klout just went down farther and farther and farther, all these normal people, boring things. And it will come back up. There's less mundane stuff now. There are more things, associated with the class. Most of my Klout is related to my activity on Facebook, as that graph there shows. Ozma has a significantly higher Klout. He has his own Wikipedia page. He has won a lot of awards, and they're the type of thing that make it easier to get your own Wikipedia page. And you can see the gray there. Most of his Klout is due to his Wikipedia presence. Most of mine is due to Facebook. So what have I done that had the most impact on my Klout? It's really strange. Almost every day I use a fluorescent microscope. And one day I put a picture of a fluorescent microscope on Facebook, and people just went crazy. I got more likes on that picture than I've got. So, who knew that that's what it would take to get the maximum number of likes? So yeah, that was a really popular thing. So I think raising your Klout should never be a direct goal. It's just sort of the side effect of normal life, that as you do things, your Klout goes up and down. And sometimes the thing you've done was very good to do, even though it caused your Klout to plummet. And vice versa. Sometimes the superficial things that you do that raise your Klout, were not as valid as other life activities. Joel Crichton is a singer-songwriter in Edmonton who took this course, came here, sat in on a number of the lectures, and then wrote a song about the course. And he happens to have the same Klout as me of 60. So really the bottom line here is that one presumes that a high Klout score becomes a natural side effect of behavior you may want to be engaging in anyway. The algorithm for Klout is proprietary, just like the algorithm for the Sony Smile Shutter. You three who were captured on January 8th by this camera and who were in that slide from the last time that I spoke here, we don't know exactly how that Sony algorithm works. We also don't know exactly how the Klout algorithm works. Anyway, I thought I'd play that song for you. Let me just figure out how to do that. You probably had to be exposed to it eventually anyway. So. Here it comes, coming at you very soon.
I've got a half-life ticking and EKG readings that are beating the shore to dust. I've got a smartphone crystal ball, touch screen and all, but the screen won't touch. And it's this analog melody stuck in my head, and it's driving me insane, cause I got this chronic condition that'll suffer no remission, and I'm feeling that I ain't got time. Ooh yeah, yeah. Show me an android heart, an AI mind, and a spirit in the machine. Show me an optimistic and futuristic prognosis and what it means. Help me to see the future between the sutures. Will it be good or bad, or will we recognize a thing when we all pull the pin? Will it resemble what we had? It's a singularity. Yeah, it's a singularity. Beyond event horizon, will we wisen up or find a kind of glory? What's the story of the singularity?
What you hear is not a test, it's a singularity. A risk thing, isn't it? To envision it, or does the future look rather dissonant? Robot style, but what about later? Will it be like Terminator? Or are we headed for utopia? Well, follow me and I'll show ya.
Voices from every field across the world are coming to ya. Attend the class or watch from home, it's coming to ya. Kim Solez has the contacts and he's bringing them to ya. It's coming to ya, the future's coming to ya. So come to the future.
Technology and the future of medicine. Lab MP 590. There. So you never have to watch it again, you know, but if somebody asks you if you've seen it, you can tell them that you've seen it. So, all right. So now the second half of this lecture is completely different. But you may have wondered how I came to do the stuff that I'm doing. I mean, why am I so pro-technology? Why would I put together a course about technology? You know, I was a well-respected kidney pathologist. It's not a really obvious thing for a kidney pathologist to do. So I had an experience in December 2004 where a cell phone saved my life. Now, if you think of that concept of a cell phone saving your life, it wouldn't happen to you because you're carrying a cell phone all the time, and a cell phone is part of everything that you do. And you know, if you were in some risky situation, you'd probably call on your cell phone and get rescued, but you wouldn't call it a cell phone saving your life because it's just, you know, the way normal life is. But back then, it was unusual. So there really was the feeling that I would have died in this event, except for the presence of this cell phone connection. So I'm going to tell you about that. And it does raise the question of whether technology is going to save us or is going to produce humanity's demise, or whether it's somewhere in between. So this is the story of Signal Hill. Signal Hill is in St. John's, Newfoundland. It's the area, it's the point exactly where Marconi sent the first radio waves. So it's a historic site in terms of modern communication, radio waves communication. It is also, I know you're probably heterogeneous with respect to interest in Leonard Cohen, but if those of you who have absolutely no interest in Leonard Cohen will pardon me for just 60 seconds here. I was there because The only other person, high-profile person in Canada other than me running Leonard Cohen events lives in St. John's. And so Vicki Hines runs a 3-day, things are really dull in the winter in St. John's. It's mainly a fishing place, and the fishermen don't have too much to do when the sea is frozen and stuff. So she's able to gather together in this venue that holds 250 people, like 750 people over 3 successive nights to celebrate the work of Leonard Cohen. And she invited me as her honored guest since I did similar things here. So we arrived on December 28th with plans to attend the December 29th performance at 8 p.m. And honestly, there wasn't a lot to do there. We had a beautiful hotel room. You look out the window of the hotel room, and Signal Hill sort of beckons. You know, I'd been up there before. I knew it's a really cool place to walk along the sea and so on. So on the morning of the 29th, we had nothing to do, and you know, the hill was beckoning to us, so we went up to Signal Hill, my wife and I. And this is the welcome sign. And that building up at the top there is called Klout Tower. And there's a woman who runs the gift shop there. And I don't know very much about her, but she announced she was having a bad day. And so I purchased some batteries for my cellular camera and stuff. And then we asked her how to get down. Okay, there's another important fact. You can see that my wife is wearing a normal coat. This coat has standard normal friction. If you fall, there's some friction between the coat surface and the snow, so you don't like keep moving. Whereas my coat, I had this modern coat, it comes with an instruction manual about how to put it on. You can imagine the coat needing that, and it had an extremely slick, shiny, synthetic surface. So it had no friction coefficient at all, and my jacket was quite slick. So we simply asked, well, how do we get back to town? He said, well, there's this North Head Trail, and it's very scenic. You'll get this beautiful view right along the sea, and you'll be back downtown in 40 minutes. It's great. She didn't give us any other option. And it made sense to us. You could see the trail. It looked scenic. We did notice there were no other footprints. And this was like the first serious snow. Winter came late in St. John's that year. So up until then, it had been kind of fall, but the time we were there was winter. And so we started out, and it was still daylight in the afternoon. Beautiful cliff edge walk. Going became more and more difficult. There was a very strong wind and sea spray. Even though the sea was hundreds of meters below us, the wind was so strong that still we got all this sea spray in our face. That becomes important later on. It was also in the era where you could still take batteries out of your cell phone. You can't do that with yours because it's totally contained and you have to replace the phone to replace the battery. And I had an extra battery in my pocket. I'd been really bored in the hotel room, so I charged this extra battery, and And things got worse and worse. So finally, because of the wind, we could not remain upright. So we were crawling along on our hands and knees. And my wife was doing fine because of the high friction coefficient of her coat. So she would slip a little way and she'd be connected with good friction to another part of snow. But we were on this steeply inclined cliff kind of thing, and I kept slipping toward the edge. And she said, I don't think I can help you. And I think that's right, she couldn't help me. So anyway, but finally, I grabbed hold. There are all these bridges. There are 22 bridges, and I grabbed hold of the wooden post of the 17th bridge and pulled out my cell phone and started to make a call. But because of the sea spray, the circuit board on the cell phone was getting shorted out. So even though there's 2 fully charged batteries, it didn't really work properly because of all the seawater inside the phone. But by switching them around, by warming the battery and putting in the new battery, and anyway, I was able to call 911. It was a slow news day. And so they really pulled out all the stops. Geez, this middle-aged couple is stuck on North Head Trail on the 17th bridge. Let's go get them. So, but the other thing that's sort of interesting, if you know anything about hypothermia, is we were really cold and we stopped shivering. Now that's a bad sign. I mean, if you're shivering, you're still good to go, but when you stop shivering, ominous things can happen. So a team of 6 people came down, but only one guy put himself at risk coming down where we were. So they're all sort of connected by ropes. So the other 5 stay up at higher, secure ground, and the one bravest guy, or the guy who got the short straw, I'm not sure how it works, goes down to connect himself to us. And they rescued 3 entities. Might seem odd, there were only 2 of us, but they rescued the digital camera and my wife and myself. There were 3 separate rescues. And we inched back up to safety one by one. And by the time we got up to the top of the hill, there was news media and police and everything there. And I was whisked back to the hotel. We freshened up and we got to the venue right on time, and there was our seats of honor right in the center, and sat down, and it was really cool. And Leonard Cohen later that night sent me a message that he was glad I was back on terra firma. So it was a very moving experience. I don't know what happened to the person who runs the gift shop. I've had no further contact. One of my best friends here, Phil Halloran, he heard this story because, there was nothing else going on in Canada on that dull day. And so everything was the Solez rescue, and I was telling him how we had been offered only one way to get down, and so what we had done was not stupid. He said, that's important to emphasize, not stupid. So whether you think it was stupid or not. Anyway, cell phones saved my life in 2004. That was unusual back then. Today everybody has a cell phone. In a sense, you might say cell phones are saving lives every hour, every minute, but we just don't think about it that way. So the question is whether one can really feel a benign, affection for technology, or whether this is just a sort of aberration in an absolutely negative relationship that, technology is ultimately going to wipe us out, and regardless of this nice story Dr. Solez just told you that, technology is bad news for human beings in the long run. We really don't know which of those is the case. But the reason that you don't feel that your cell phone has already saved your life several times is that when technology is really successful, as cell phones now are, that it just sort of disappears into the background. You no longer think about it. As you're walking around with your phone and so much depends upon it, You don't think every moment how grateful you are to have the phone and how grateful you are to all the people who created the phone. You don't ever think about that. It's just, it sort of descends into the background. So it's possible we are safer because of technology and just don't realize it. And so that's basically what I wanted to tell you about it. It explains a little bit about how I came to be such a technology-oriented person.